Experienced timber workers are generally able to identify the different species they work with just by looking at the surface of the timber. This is because most species have particular features that give them a distinctive appearance. In this video clip, we'll look at the visual characteristics of grain, figure, texture, colour, and reaction wood. We won't cover the characteristics of knots, gum veins, resin pockets, and other features that affect strength, since these are discussed in detail in the sections relating to softwood and hardwood grading. Grain refers to the direction of growth of the wood fibres. In general, the fibres tend to run parallel to the length of a board. However, there are various reasons why the grain tends to deviate from a straight parallel line, and it's unusual for an individual piece to be straight-grained throughout its entire length. Some of the reasons result from the sawmilling process, such as when the log has a natural curve, called a sweep, and the direction of the cut is not in line with the grain alignment. Other reasons relate to the growth characteristics of the tree, including spiral growth and grain deviations around branches and defects. The easiest way to tell which direction the grain is running is to look for surface checks, that is, small cracks in the timber. Surface checks occur when the wood fibres pull apart from each other as they shrink, so the checks always run with the grain. The terms used to describe different types of grain include straight grain, where it runs consistently in a single direction, spiral grain, that results from wood tissue growing in a spiral around the center of the tree, interlocked grain, resulting from a double spiral, where alternate bands of growth run in opposite directions, wavy grain, that produces a wavy pattern on the surface of the timber, and irregular grain, that swirls or twists, particularly around burls, knots, and other growth features. Figure refers to the patterns formed on the surface of timber by the grain, growth rings, and other characteristics in the wood. In general, the patterns are related to the way the board has been cut from the log. There are two main cuts used by sawmills to break down a log. Backsawn timber is cut at a tangent to the growth rings, so that the rings are less than 45 degrees to the face of the board. This cut can produce various patterns, including cathedral figure in the growth rings. Quarter-sawn timber is cut radially towards the center of the tree, so that the growth rings are more than 45 degrees to the face of the board. This can produce figures such as fiddleback, so called because it is typically used on the backs of violins. Texture is determined by the size and density of the fibers and their distribution in the wood tissue. It's often described as fine, moderately coarse, and coarse. The colour of a piece of timber is influenced by various factors, and a single board can have a range of colours. The main determining factors are the composition of the woody fibres and the chemical makeup of the tannins, resins, and other extractives. Durable species often look darker and richer in colour than non-durable species due to the heavy deposits of extractives in the hardwood. Although there are some notable exceptions to this general statement, so it shouldn't be treated as a universal rule. Timber species can range from almost white, such as in balsa, through to virtually black, such as in ebony. In between are many different colours. Some species also have a distinctive colour difference between the sapwood and the hardwood. Again, this is mostly due to the extractives found in the hardwood. In timbers that are typically cut from smaller logs, like cypress pine, the interplay between the sapwood and the hardwood is a characteristic feature that forms part of its visual appeal. Reaction wood occurs in trees when they grow in a lean and develop a lopsided centre of gravity. In resawn timber, it often shows up as swirly grain because the fibres aren't running in an even longitudinal direction. It also tends to produce a fuzzy finish when the timber is cut or sanded. Reaction wood is a normal characteristic in branches because of the angles they grow at. This is why branches don't make good timber boards. When reaction wood also occurs in the main stem, the swirly grain can have a serious effect on the strength of the board.